You won't believe what just unfolded in the Harris family. The same hip-hop world that once danced under neon lights has suddenly fallen into eerie silence. It all started like any other day, until fate took a turn no one saw coming. King Harris, the son of rap legend T.I., was fighting for his life in an ICU. His skin pale, his body tangled in tubes, while his parents stood outside the glass, completely shattered. Fans who'd grown up watching King live a flashy, fearless life couldn't believe their eyes. The young man, once full of energy, now lay motionless, barely holding on. But here's the chilling part. This wasn't just some accident or random fight. Something far darker went down behind those prison walls. Witnesses say King was calm that evening, keeping to himself, walking away from the usual noise inside the block. He'd asked to be alone for a bit. Maybe to think, maybe to plan his next move. Minutes later, chaos erupted. Shouts echoed through the corridors. Alarms screamed. Guards rushed in, and when the noise faded, King was on the floor, unconscious. Doctors fought to save him, but it was clear this wasn't a normal scuffle. The wounds were too calculated, too intentional. And then came the twist. Every security camera that could have captured the attack had gone dark. Not a single second of footage survived. It was as if someone wanted that moment erased from history. That same night, T.I. and Tiny arrived at the hospital, crying, trembling, calling out their son's name. But he didn't respond. Nurses whispered that things were critical. Machines kept beeping faintly, signaling life, but just barely. Outside, hundreds gathered. Fans, friends, strangers. Candles lit, prayers whispered. Social media exploded with hashtags demanding justice. But beneath the sympathy, fear began to spread. What if this wasn't a coincidence? What if someone wanted King gone? Soon, whispers from inside the prison began to leak. Sources claimed King had made enemies. Not just among inmates, but with people in power. Rumors swirled that he'd uncovered something. Secret deals, contraband money, corruption among the very officers meant to protect him. If that was true, then King had become a liability. And in prison, liabilities don't last long. When the Harris family demanded the security footage, the warden said the cameras malfunctioned. Not a single clip survived. Convenient, right? T.I. was seen breaking down. The man once known for strength and pride looked completely lost. Outside the ICU, cameras caught him saying, "I don't care about justice. I just want my boy to live." A father's raw cry, desperate and broken, but that single line lit up the internet. People started asking, why would he say that? Did he already know this wasn't a random brawl? Did he know who was behind it? And then came the leak that changed everything. A nurse's voice recording whispering, "This wasn't random. Someone wanted him gone." That one line turned a tragedy into a mystery. From that moment on, this wasn't just a story about a wounded young man. It became a story of betrayal, silence, and fear. People began connecting dots that maybe weren't even visible yet. The world held its breath as doctors announced the next 24 hours would decide everything. Each beep from the monitor felt like a countdown to the truth. Tiny cried until she could barely breathe, clutching T.I., who just stood there and staring through the glass, whispering, "Hang on, son. Daddy's here, but here's where things took a turn." While the family prayed for a miracle, new whispers inside the prison were preparing to expose what really went down that night. And trust me, you won't believe what came next. As the world tried to process the shocking attack, new voices began to surface, and with them came even deeper fear. Inside the hospital, tension grew heavier by the hour. King's condition was unstable, his heartbeat rising and crashing like a storm on the monitor. Doctors quietly mentioned swelling in his brain. It wasn't looking good. Tiny couldn't stop crying. T.I. just stared at the floor, a man who'd already seen too much pain in his lifetime. The whole hospital reeked of panic and prayers. Everyone waited, hoping for even a flicker of movement from King's eyes. But destiny once again had a cruel plan. By sunrise, whispers of conspiracy had exploded into full-blown accusations. People were convinced. This wasn't a prison fight. It was a hit. Planned, precise, brutal. Then came the twist that changed everything. A voice recording surfaced online, allegedly from a prison staff member, claiming that guards were told to stand down minutes before the fight broke out. That single statement shook the entire internet. Was someone inside working with people on the outside? Who gave the order? No one had answers, but everyone agreed something wasn't right. Fans started calling it the biggest betrayal behind bars. They wanted justice, not excuses. But the silence from the authorities? Deafening. Meanwhile, T.I. was barely holding himself together. Reporters followed him everywhere, and every tear became a headline. At one point, he broke down and said, "If my son doesn't make it, the world's gonna burn." No one knew if it was grief or a warning. Then things got even darker. A few of T.I.'s old enemies began posting cryptic messages online. One rapper wrote, "When you play with fire, it reaches your family." That single line sent shockwaves through social media. Fans flooded the comments, digging through old rivalries, old grudges, old beefs, trying to piece together who might have ordered the hit. Atlanta became a city in mourning and in rage. Candlelight vigils filled the streets. Crowds marched with posters shouting, "Justice for King." They didn't want silence anymore. They wanted names. They wanted truth. Videos soon surfaced of Tiny collapsing in the hospital hallway, screaming, "They wanted to kill my baby!" Her cries echoed online, breaking millions of hearts. While the world demanded justice, the doctors brought the family to their knees, revealing the brutal truth. King's skull had suffered massive trauma, likely from a weapon fashioned out of a padlock stuffed inside a sock. This wasn't a fight. It was an execution. The wounds told their own story. This wasn't anger, it was intent. The shocking part? Guards were right there. But they didn't move until it was too late. The Harris family felt betrayed. They had believed that even behind bars, justice had rules. But that belief shattered fast. Just as they started demanding an official statement, another twist hit. One that changed everything. You won't believe how quickly chaos took over Atlanta. In just a few days, the city felt less like home and more like a movie set. Crowds gathered outside the hospital, reporters camped on every corner, and social media turned into a war zone of theories. Some called it corruption. Others whispered karma. But many believed it was revenge, written years ago, finally catching up. Then came the shocker. An anonymous voice recording appeared online. The voice trembled with fear as it said, "We were told to make it look like a fight, but the target was King." Those words spread like wildfire. No one knew if the clip was real, but it ripped open every wound the Harris family was trying to heal. After that leak, nobody trusted silence anymore. Journalists began digging through T.I.'s past. Old feuds, broken deals, rivalries that never really died. Some claimed this was a warning, a message to remind T.I. that even fame has limits. Others believed King had stumbled upon something inside the prison, something hidden, something dangerous, and paid the price for knowing too much. Even insiders admitted the attack felt too quiet, too clean, too perfectly timed to be random. Destiny had taken another cruel turn, and the Harris family was trapped in a storm they couldn't escape. Inside the hospital, things weren't much better. King's condition changed by the hour, stable one moment, crashing the next. Nurses moved in and out with pale faces and trembling hands. T.I. hadn't left his side in days. His beard had grown, his eyes red from sleepless nights, a father broken but refusing to give up. Tiny prayed in silence, clutching King's hand, whispering, "You're strong, baby. You'll come back." Then came another chilling moment. Some say that night, King's monitor went flat. He stopped breathing. Doctors rushed in, shouting orders, fighting to bring him back. For a few seconds, it felt like the world stopped. And then, a single beep echoed through the room. He was alive. Barely. Outside, the crowd broke down in tears. Strangers hugged, crying his name like a prayer. For a moment, it felt like the whole city was breathing as one. But with every miracle came more madness. Truth and rumor began to blur. Every hour brought a new theory. A guard paid off, a rival crew behind the scenes, or even a hidden industry message meant to scare others. No one knew what to believe anymore, but one thing was clear. This wasn't just about a boy in critical condition. It was about a system cracking open in front of millions. That evening, T.I. finally snapped. Cameras caught him storming out of the hospital, shaking with rage, shouting, "If y'all don't protect my family, I'll burn this whole system down." That clip went viral in minutes. Some saw it as a father's pain. Others heard something darker, like a man who already knew too much. The internet exploded with questions. Why did the cameras fail? Why were the guards silent? Why was every witness too scared to talk? Each question pushed the truth further away, and every silence made the story even darker. As night fell, the Harris family sat together in the waiting room, broken, silent, terrified. Tiny whispered prayers under her breath. T.I. stared blankly at the floor. Outside, the glow of red lights mixed with thousands of flickering candles lit in King's name. Everyone waited for justice, for answers, or maybe a miracle. But deep down, everyone felt it. Something was coming, something big, something that would change everything. As the final night approached, the hospital looked like a fortress. Guards at every door, cameras flashing non-stop, crowds chanting outside. But inside, silence. Heavy, haunting silence. The family had run out of tears. Days had passed without sleep, without peace. And now, they were about to hear the words no parent should ever face. Doctors warned that if King didn't show improvement soon, they might have to consider removing life support. That hit T.I. like a knife. He shouted through tears, "Nobody decides my son's fate but God. You don't get to end my boy's story." Outside, Atlanta stood still. Crowds had doubled overnight, a sea of candles glowing in the dark. Posters read, "Justice for King." The system failed him. Even strangers wept as they prayed. But just when everyone thought it couldn't get worse, another bomb dropped online. A mysterious Instagram account posted a message that read, "The sins of the father fall on the son." Then it vanished. But not before screenshots spread everywhere, and suddenly, people started to believe. This was never about King. It was about T.I. It wasn't just about King anymore. It was about his father's past. Destiny had truly taken an unexpected turn, and it felt like the universe was rewriting the price of fame in real time. That night, the hospital became a stage for heartbreak. Tiny collapsed in the corridor after hearing King's brain activity was fading. T.I. dropped to his knees beside her, gripping her hand, whispering prayers through trembling lips. Even the nurses cried. One of them murmured, "They're just parents." Just like anyone else. Then, the moment no one expected. A faint movement on the monitor. A twitch, a breath, a flicker of life. The room froze. The doctor raised his hand for silence. King's heartbeat grew stronger, then weaker, then faded again. But that tiny flicker was enough. Enough to remind everyone that he was still fighting. Outside, the news spread in seconds. King Harris shows signs of life. Fans screamed. Some cried. Others dropped to their knees in prayer. It was as if the entire city finally exhaled after holding its breath for days. But even in that fragile hope, the truth behind the attack remained buried, locked behind walls of silence. The prison said nothing. No reports, no footage, no names. The Harris family's lawyer called it the biggest cover-up in state history. That night, T.I. finally spoke. He posted one line online. "They tried to break me through my blood, but we don't fall that easy." That sentence became a rallying cry. Millions repeated it, turning pain into power. But here's where it gets even darker. Even after everything, the story refused to end. Whispers said the people behind it were too powerful to touch, that anyone who spoke would disappear. Some claimed the truth was buried in sealed files, never meant to see daylight. Others believed T.I. already knew exactly who was behind it, and was just waiting for the right moment to strike, because this story wasn't about fame anymore. It was about survival, about justice, about a father fighting to protect what's left of his family. As the sun rose over Atlanta, the hospital glowed under soft orange light. Crowds still stood outside, praying, crying, holding candles high. Inside, the faint beep of King's monitor echoed like the heartbeat of an entire city. Fragile but alive. No one knew if he'd ever wake up. But one thing was certain, nothing would ever be the same again. This tragedy had exposed everything. How power can twist justice, how silence can bury truth, and how pain can unite millions of strangers under one name. You won't believe it, but even in the darkest moments, hope refused to die, and that's where this story ends. Not with answers, but with a promise. One day, the truth will rise, just like King fought to.